So utilizing the power of Sankalpa means intention. We have the mind, that is the most potent instrument in human hands. And if we are able, that mind is what is clogged because of our thoughts and actions. It's the mind that's disturbed. And so it lost its ability of that intention. That intention is what is our power. We have that power to make things happen with the thought power. And that in Sanskrit is Sankalpa, intention. So we have to utilize this mind to bring about this transformation. And when the instrument itself is broken, we can't bring transformation. So that is why we meditate. So in the human being, there is this field called Chitlake. It is between 7 and 8 on our forehead, 0.7 and 0.8 in our forehead, going few inches down deeper. There is this field called Chitlake. That is where all these thoughts, impressions are floating. And gradually they start to descend into the heart. The thought flow is descending into the thought. The nature of that flow is to go outward. Outward is from the left side of the heart. There is point A, and that is how impressions, people call karma, I'm suffering. Where is this suffering happening? There is like you're throwing up. Where is it coming? There is a path where this sickness is there and it is coming through and coming out of you. So also in this chit lake, these impressions are floating. And impressions are nothing but compilation of the thoughts and tendencies. So that flow, it comes into the heart for every human being, and it comes out from point A, where we go through the life. And a part of that flow technically should be flowing towards the second point, which is known as soul point, which is the ether field, which is the source field, the divine field. But for most of the human beings, it's very difficult that flow is not towards that. Everybody's attention is going into the external world. So Chitlake is where the thoughts are floating and the flow is inclined downwards, and it has no tendency to rise upwards unless the power of a guide becomes instrumental in this respect to divert this flow. It's like a river, it's flowing, and always everything is going to the outward world, and we are stuck in this cycle of life where things are happening, sometimes good, sometimes bad, and we have no control. And here, with the power of intention and the power of transmission, with the very first 3 sessions, what the guide does to an aspirant, a seeker, is he diverts that flow towards the second point, which is on the right side of your chest. The first energy field is on the left side of your chest. The guide diverts that flow towards the right side of your chest. So you start to think about the source. Until then, if you observe our friends, some of them, they have no idea of self-transformation or divinity or higher principles. They're just in a routine life because their thought doesn't go there. They don't know that because their thought is always outward. So this current descends into the heart through the pharyngeal plexus. And this is where cosmic and paracosmic regions meet. And it divides into 3 currents. First is flowing into point A in our left side of the heart area, which is the first point. I will explain further in the next slides. And the second one is going into the lower areas of the heart. And one is flowing towards the soul. So what the guide does is he makes the intention that flow is moving from where the pharyngeal and cosmic and paracosmic meet. He diverts that flow towards the soul point, the second point. And this he does in the very first sitting. And he makes an intention backed with this transmission. And what is this intention? It is a particle that is induced with the thought that may this happen. And he transmits that prana, the life force, and it starts to flow towards. And then usually our thought goes towards wanting peace, being peaceful, wanting to change our lifestyle, trying to be more calm. That is when our thought flows towards that. So the location of this field of thoughts, as we call it as Chitle, it is between 0.7 and 8 in our consciousness in the subtle body field. And it is 1 inch inside like a triangle, and that is where it is. This, I just want you to have an idea of what it is. So we have our physical body and we have all our organs, and that functions because blood is flowing thoroughly in them. And if the blood flow stops, we have a heart attack. The body organ gets affected if the blood doesn't flow properly. So also we have the second layer of the body, which is called subtle body. In that, all these energy fields exist. And in this energy fields, this life force, just like blood, life force is flowing in this subtle body. And when this life flow gets blocked, the organ doesn't function. Say I got blood flow did not happen in the right hand. My right hand is paralyzed. I cannot do work with the right hand. It doesn't express itself with the right function, my right hand, because it is blocked. Same way in our energy field, when this energy doesn't flow freely in these vibratory fields or vortexes or chakras, as we call, that chakra becomes sick. And just like how I can't lift a hand, that chakra cannot radiate its real quality. My right hand is supposed to be functional. My first chakra, which is supposed to be functional, should radiate the quality of balance. But if it's blocked, it can't be balanced. Then a human being falls apart. So if we understand this concept, let us see how, looking at the physical body, how blood is flowing in the entire system and making this physical body a fit organ, a fit body. So also, same energy in the subtle body, it is flowing on the back of the spine also. And this is where this is where the energy flows, and these are called Kala Chakra points. And this is how our ancestors used to make a lot of efforts to make this energy flow freely, to remove the blocks and all that. And it was very difficult because thought came from the center. And since we are opposing the flow of that energy that came from the center, swimming was very difficult in this region. And this is where Heartfulness Guides, they created a bypass road. They found a bypass road. They did not create. The bypass road existed, but they discovered that. And this is the heart region. In this heart region, where it says number 1, that is the first energy field or vortex or chakra or lotus, whatever word you want to use it. It is a field. In that field, the quality of that field is earth, because our physical body is made up of elements. Even our energy body, when we first descended from the center, first it acquired the quality of space. That was the first element that we acquired. And then fire and water and air and earth. So just like how physical body is all made up of elements, our subtle body is also made up of elements. And these energy fields have these qualities of those elements. Each energy field has all the elements, but one particular element is dominating in each field. Say first point, it's known as earth point, because earth is dominating. Earth element is dominating in this field. And because of the impressions we created, because of our thoughts and negative thoughts, negative actions, we created layers. now this is not flowing properly. When it does not flow, when something happens, the very first moment we fall apart. Somebody says something, we are immediately depressed because our balance is lost because there's no energy flow. And because of that lack of balance, in the second point where it is the field of ether, ether means space. Space is freedom. Freedom means peace. So the second point gets affected where you don't have peace. And the third element is fire. Fire is the field that fire can ignite emotions. So in a negative way, you become emotionally disturbed. You become angry. You become depressed. So when that flow is not proper in the third point, which is the fire point, those are the negative things we experience. And then the fourth point is called the water point, where the qualities of that water point are courage and fear. In a very negative way, we become very scared. When we are emotionally disturbed, people usually are very scared. And because of that, the fifth point which gets affected is the air point. And because there we won't have any clarity in the being. And that being falls apart. And this is what exactly the Vedas quoted, the Bhagavad Gita quotes. Lord Krishna says a person who loses his balance has no peace. He becomes angry. Anger leads to fear. Fear leads to clogging of the mind. The mind doesn't function. The wisdom is lost, he says. And the person who loses his wisdom falls apart. So a human being who is supposed to be in a state of balance, the first thing that we need to take care of ourselves is to gain that balance, become balanced human beings. And this is where meditation helps. This is where the thought flow that is going outward, when you are able to divert that thought and give it a break and allow it to go to the space area where there is peace and allow it to rest in that peace, in that silence of the space, what happens is your mind starts to get rejuvenated. It moves into the silent field. So even according to neuroscience, they say that in a given week, if you are able to keep your mind in silence for a few hours, 20 minutes there, 10 minutes here, the frontal brain regenerates new cells. And the frontal brain is all about balance, emotional stability, and creativity, your ability to be creative. So what is creativity? Your ability to respond spontaneously in this moment. So that gets affected. But if you're able to be silent, that it regenerates new cells. So what we are trying to do in meditation is tap into the silence. Science says that, but they don't know where this silence is. This silence is that in that state of being of that ultimate particle, that divine particle that exists in every being, and that is the doorway of the heart. So when prana is flowing freely, this is how the system works. Just like how blood was flowing freely in the physical body, and the body is fit, functional, and because of that you feel good, you are living normal life. When energy flows freely in the energy body, you are more balanced, you are more peaceful, you know how to manage your emotions, and because of that there is courage in you, and because of that there is clarity in you, and you are able to live a better life. You are being a better human being. You are radiating the qualities of the human being that we are supposed to radiate. We are supposed to be balanced people. We are supposed to be peaceful people. We are supposed to be emotionally stable and have courage and pursue things and have clarity. But when this is blocked, we cannot express ourselves as human beings. And that is what we are trying to achieve with meditation is, with the thought flow, we are trying to regulate this flow of the prana by regulating the mind. So this prana further flows in the higher regions, and which I won't talk about today, but I just wanted you to have a glimpse of it. This is our heart region. This is the subtle body energy field. This is the field of our consciousness. In this, the organs are, mind, intellect, ego, and they are embedded on the consciousness. And if these are functioning properly, the mind gets regulated, intellect gets regulated, ego is refined, and because of that, consciousness expands and is in a healthy state. But when these are not, the prana is not flowing and these points are affected, our mind gets affected, you can't think clearly, our intellect gets affected, there is no wisdom or clarity, our ego is at the highest peak, we can't see divinity in others, we think we are the greatest beings, and because of that, the consciousness gets constricted, and it's almost like you are being squished, there is no space. The nature of freedom is space, and when that consciousness got constricted, there is no peace in us. And that is why, in spite of having all the physical comforts, we are all looking for something. We are looking for that space, that divinity, that peace. And this is how our energy field is. In this energy field, there are sub points. The first point is earth point. One finger down from the center of the sternum, going 4 fingers in, is this point B field. Just like how in our house we store things in our pantry, we store things in our closet, we store things in the refrigerator. Depending on the nature of the item, we store things. As we live life, as we collect impressions, depending on the nature of those impressions, our energy body, it stores. It's like body. You eat the food, body absorbs the good, ejects the bad. The subtle body also, when you are collecting so many impressions, it absorbs this positive energy, which will help the prana to move freely, and that negative energy gets clogged in these chakras, making them stagnant. So point B is where we store lower tendencies: anger, greed, jealousy, lust. Lower qualities of the human being are all in that point B. That is why if you have been meditating with heartfulness method, 5 minutes in the morning meditation, we come to this point, we bring our focus to this point B and make an intention. This point is being released. Those lower tendencies are leaving from the front of the body. And now as this is happening, your soul is glowing in brightness. You make an intention. And 2 fingers above that point B is called a vibratory field of A. And this point A is directly connected to the source, to the consciousness of the guide, and to the source directly. And so any intentions we want to make to bring about changes inside us, if we bring our thought to this field, it's like, from one area, you say hi, people can hear you. And you are all the way in the kitchen in the back, and you are trying to call your husband who is in the upstairs bedroom, he can't hear you. So also this field of A is a vibratory field connected to the source. So when you bring your thought into this area and make any intentions like correct thinking, right understanding, honest approach to life is developing in me, real love is developing in me. Or if you want to get rid of things, this weakness of complaining has left me, I have no attachment to it. Weakness of blaming others, victimhood has left me, I have no attachment to it. Weakness of complaining all the time has left me, I have no attachment to it. As we introspect and see what are our weaknesses, if we come to this area and make those intentions, they manifest. This is like a very powerful area. And the greatest of the masters is, as we meditate in the morning, as a beginner, we just say, there is divine light in my heart. Where the heart beats, there is light. And your mind is absorbed in that light. And point A is also very close to that area. So in the morning, when we are making this intention, there is light in my heart. My mind is drawn to this light and the mind is resting in the light. Without our knowledge, we are making an intention, so it starts to manifest. Now you are uncovering the light that is within you. The 2 fingers, when you go down point C, this is like an entry point where I got very angry with my husband. I never resolved. I'm carrying all these negative impressions. They're entering through that point C, the doorway. And they go settle in point B. Or if it's too much anger, it goes settles in emotional area of point 3. And I'm so scared I got bitten by a dog. It goes and stores in point 4. Stuff like that. And 2 fingers, when you're going inward towards the nipple, it's point D. When you do something and you are guilty of something, it gets stored there. So these are all energy fields. So if point C cannot be cleaned, they say point D cannot be cleaned. You can clean point B. You can make intentions at point A. For D, the only way is when you say sorry. You have done something knowingly or unknowingly. When you truly go into your heart's field and apologize, and if that apology is truly from your depth of your being, nature forgives. Nature doesn't keep account of, oh, you are bad, you are good, you are doing this much. It's like parents, kids make mistakes. The moment they're sorry, we forget it. We're not going to hold it against them. So this field is that field. So this is how I showed the first, how originally they look. First point is about earth. The positive qualities the earth point is supposed to radiate is balance and contentment. But when it is affected, when the prana doesn't flow, it shows discontentment, it is imbalanced. And the moment that point gets affected, immediately the next point gets affected. Positively, it gives calmness and peace. Negatively, it disturbs our peace. And when that energy flow goes to the next organ, which is the fire point, if it is positive, you feel love and compassion. If it is negative, you feel anger, emotional outbursts, depression. And when that flow affects the next point, because energy is continuously flowing, and when it affects the next point, the water point, in the negative way, it creates fear and discouragement. And when this point is deeply affected, there is sometimes people commit suicide. All this is the qualities of this water point, because water is very powerful. And in the positive way, it gives immense courage. And when this flow affects the air point, in a positive way, it gives clarity. In the negative way, it puts the person in illusion. So this is how, in reality, the points are, where in first element, it is the earth element, but all the other elements are also present in there. Like a part of ether is there, part of fire is there, water is there, air is there. In the second point, ether is dominating. The third point, fire is dominating. Fourth point, water is dominating. Fifth point, air is dominating. So, let me stop share. So how do we help ourselves? How can we make this prana flow freely into ourselves? How can we bring balance into each point? And this is where the heartfulness practice helps. In the meditation, when you are meditating with a trainer who is connected with the guide's consciousness, they transmit this life force. And because of that life transmission of the life force, what happens? The first thing that happens is this thought flow that is descending and is supposed to go out as a suffering. It is part of it is diverted to the soul point, and all the impressions get burnt out. That is the help the guru does. The guru's consciousness, it removes the impressions, so you don't have to suffer so much. Otherwise, if it's continuously going outward to the earth plane, we have to go through the suffering. That is the only way. You have to throw up. Whatever you eat, you have to throw up. If I eat an apple, I throw up an apple. I cannot throw up a pie. So the impressions, the help of the guide is this transmission first diverts the flow, makes you think about the light where they are diverting the flow there. And this point too is like a furnace, even though it is space, it burns the impressions because it is like it purifies. It purifies the thought and makes it one with that space. And so that's the first help. Second help is the cleansing. The impressions are released, and they're released through the spine. And in between the spine, in between the vertebrae, there is space. Even that space when it gets clogged, there is no energy flow. So in our cleaning process, the technique that's given is that you think the golden liquid is flowing through your bones and all the vertebrae and everything before you do the cleaning. What does that golden liquid do? It clears that space between those vertebrae to let the energy flow freely. And then you're making the intention by yourself that impurities are leaving. Because before, when people were trying to clean, it won't leave because that area is clogged. And that is the second help the guide does is releases in the first 3 sittings. They release that for you. They clear that spine with the transmission. So it empowers you to do your own cleaning. So that is why the first 3 sittings are important when we start the heartfulness meditation. That is the work that happens is they make this energy flow through there, release it. So when you sit by yourself for your evening cleansing with the idea that the impurities are leaving, they're actually leaving as smoke and vapor. Because incidentally, years ago, about 25, 30 years ago, Veronica Carter, who was one of our preceptors, there was some expo we all went to. And there they were like trying to read the aura. And they would give us a picture of the aura of what's happening. So she sat and she started to close her eyes and started to do her cleansing. When they gave a picture of it, the aura shows a black smoke going in the back. And we were all like, then we were all standing in line to take a picture because it was clearly showing that impurities are really leaving. So she said, yeah, I just sat there and did my cleaning, Uma. So all this is just, it's like smoke going out of the chimney. If you're cooking, it's happening. So cleansing process is a very profound process with which we can help ourselves. Heartfulness techniques are given to help ourselves so we become lighter and lighter day after day, so we can actually experience the peace, actually experience that balance. And the third practice that we do would be at bedtime. At bedtime, introspection is where we see what we did wrong and we ask for forgiveness. And so we can release that point D. And at point A, we make those intentions of transformation. Whatever weaknesses we have, we make those intentions so the transformation start to happen. So what is the next level of work that the guide does on you? Because the energy is blocked. So he's clearing it, removing the impressions. With the power of his Sankalpa, intention, and the power of this transmission, they actually give a momentum at that first point. Otherwise, we are clogged. And we could be clogged forever. We won't even move. We are thinking we are doing good, we are meditating, this and that. But we are only in the superficial level, we are feeling some balance. But we cannot move from this first point, energy field, into the next field until what is known as the journey begins. And the journey, the guide has to start it for you. He has to make that intention with the power of the transmission, first cleanse that vibratory field and give it a momentum. And once that momentum happens, then your efforts of meditation will help. Then what happens is now you start to gradually journey through it. As you meditate day after day, you are going through this journey regularly. And once it reaches its peak momentum, it automatically jumps into the next field and the next field and the next field. And that is when you will experience different dimensions. Because the earth is one dimension, we are in that same dimension. But being in this earth field, in meditation, if we are able to thoroughly cleanse this area and meditate regularly, if in meditation we are able to jump into the next dimension while we are on the earth, we start to feel lighter. We start to feel a sense of freedom and we get lost in the meditation. So what we have to do in meditation is, it is a process. You simply sit, you are an observer, you are watching, but you begin. What all the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes of the meditation is what is important. Because then at the first 5, 10 minutes, your posture is correct. You are setting your intention, you are fixing your goal to be one with that ultimate consciousness. And you are recognizing that what is pulling this thought outward Your wishes. What is putting a bar for you to go towards the soul? Your wishes. So you're acknowledging, you're coming to awareness of it, that yes, it is the pull of these wishes that is stopping me to experience that freedom. And then you recognize somebody has to help you. And what is that somebody? Guides consciousness from which the transmission, the prana, emanates. Because my vibratory field is not so pure that my thought can penetrate into the source directly. So it's like a swimming. You are on the swimming board to get momentum and then you jump off, like even gliding. You go to the top of the hill and then you jump off from there. So that is what the guide's consciousness provides. It becomes a plank for us to kick off from that and fly into the space. So that's the third line of that prayer is like you recognize you need help and you say, please help me. And the moment you connect your heart to that consciousness, the transmission flows. And now the transmission does the job of diverting your attention from out to the in. And now you are an observer. You are simply observing. You are watching what's happening. Like when you're watching a movie, you're not trying to think, oh, that's going to happen, this is going to happen. You're just simply watching. That's what you do. You watch. Watchfulness is meditation. Observation is meditation. And thoughts come. That is the training. Thoughts are actually leaving the field. Thought is nothing but a desire. So you ignore it. When you ignore it, it falls off. Somebody comes to your desk. You don't want to talk to them. You ignore them. After 10 minutes, they leave. They can't wait forever. So also these thoughts are like that. Just ignore them. And when they disturb you, use the technique of breathing. Breathe. Take a deep breath. Let go. Because when you breathe, your mind calms down. Because this physical body, subtle body, the soul, all causal body are all us together. It's a part of us. So you utilize that technique of breathing where you take a deep breath, let go, ignore the thought, and divert your attention. You're simply watching. You're making that intention that my heart is filled with the light. I am resting. My mind is resting in the light. So now your senses are getting a break. Now your senses are becoming refined. Your mind is becoming refined. And once mind becomes refined because of its rest, it acquires its quality. What is its quality supposed to be? Clarity. Mind is supposed to think clearly. So that is why we can never be thoughtless. If you are completely thoughtless, that means you are useless. But now the mind, because of its clarity, it is able to think correctly. And because of thinking correctly, it's able to act correctly. And it has the right habit. So in meditation, it is all the habits you are changing. And you're using that thought power with intentions to bring transformation inside yourself, to master yourself. What is the difference between a master and an ordinary person like me? He's able to be compassionate. Only Swami Vivekananda or Jesus could say, do not throw stones on this, talking about prostitutes. Do not look down on your fallen sisters, for if they were not there, you and your mother and your sister could be there. And what is that? It is the ultimate compassion. And that is what the third point expresses. If you truly master the third point, you should be able to radiate such compassion. If you thoroughly master the second point, you will be peaceful. It so happened, a few years ago, something, always things happen to us in life. And I was totally shaken up, and it was 3 minutes before I was having a presentation for our physician community. But then I took deep breath and nothing happened. I just did a normal presentation, it was fine. And then I realized, oh my God, first time I felt, I have mastered the first point. Forget about the whole thing. I mastered the first point. And because of that, I was able to be balanced. So that is when you know that you have mastered the first point. When something is thrown at you, weight, when you're lifting weights, what's happening? Your muscle is strengthened. So you're lifting 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds day after day, and suddenly somebody throws 20 pounds at you. Because of the training, you're able to catch it and withhold it. So also when life throws things at us, with meditation, if we are able to master the first point, you will remain balanced. And if we can even do that much, then at least you are not messing up with the peace and rest of the things. Usually when we lose our balance, we get angry and we become emotional. We cry, we are scared, we lose the relationship, and we are confused. What am I supposed to do with my life? So this is how brilliantly the masters have created the method of meditation, cleansing, introspection, making intentions, bedtime, prayer, and meditating as many times as possible with the help of prana, the transmission. So if we keep doing day after day, we ourselves will notice a change, a shift in us, where you will actually come to that state of witness. So I think I will stop here and give a short session, a meditation session. And